Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keeping the Faith with Kim. I'm so excited that you have come back to listen to another episode. If you've been with me the last 7 podcasts, you know we've been diving into the parables. This is episode 8 and might be the last one of the parables for a while. I think I'm going to take a little break from the parables. But hopefully now, when I say to you, we're diving into the last so many episodes to the parables that are found in all of the Synoptic Gospels. I hope that you're like, I know what that means now. The Synoptic Gospels are Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And that means that they're very similar. They have a lot of the same stories, including they all share the parables I've talked about the last few weeks and the one we're going to talk about today. So let's dive in. We're going to talk about the parable of the Old and New Wineskins. And I'm going to read it from Matthew. So it'll be Matthew 9:14 through 17. Then John's disciples came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst. The wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." So, when we hear these stories, first of all, I remember hearing these stories, and when I first started to read my Bible, whether I was listening to them, whether I was reading, and I would just be like, what? How am I ever supposed to make sense? Everybody tells me I need to dive into God's word, but wineskins, bridegroom, like, how am I supposed to make sense of this? And honestly, it's one of the reasons why I have decided to make this podcast, because sometimes when we seek out these explanations, they're so deep. And I don't know if y'all are like me, but sometimes when it gets too deep, I'm like, I'm out. I need this to be simplified a little bit for me. And so that's why I want to do that for you. And I think years of teaching high schoolers, middle schoolers, and high schoolers has allowed me to take some of these parables and really simplify them. And could I go deeper? Yes. Is there probably a lot I'm going to be missing? Oh my goodness. Yes. But I want to make sure that I can help you see how we can use these parables and learn from them so that our faith in Christ can grow stronger. So let's start with this. We're talking about John the Baptist, who prepared the way for Christ. His disciples are there. The Pharisees are there. They are the Jewish religious members. And fasting was a part of the time. I mean, it is today as well. If you're somebody that is a part of a lot of faiths or any faith, a lot of fasting is done in your faith. So, but back then it was a sign of your reverence for God. It was also done in times of mourning, in times of longing, when things weren't going right. But it was really done often by the religious people. Sometimes it wasn't always done for the right reasons. Some people were doing it for show and to get attention. And it was kind of like, hey, look how holy I am. Look at me. But at this particular moment, John the Baptist's disciples, the Pharisees, they're kind of seeing Jesus in a time where they thought he should be fasting. Him and his peeps aren't. And they're also up in arms because he's hanging out with tax collectors and sinners. And they're like, whoa, this guy is just, why is he just doing everything a little bit differently? We know what fasting is. He should be fasting. They expected him to be doing what they have always done as a religious ritual, as a a reverence to God. So he tells them a parable. He talks to them in language that they're going to understand. He paints a picture for them that they're going to be able to see and hopefully have an aha moment. So when they ask him this, like, why aren't you fasting? Why aren't you and your peeps fasting? This is what he says. He says, the attendants of the bridegroom cannot mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them, can they? So immediately a picture, if you're there, a picture pops into the people's minds. Like they're picturing a wedding, they're picturing a celebration, they're picturing the bridegroom being there, and they're like, yeah, I mean, how can you be sad when you're at an event like that? And so he's trying to really get them to see, you guys are missing the bigger picture here. Yes, fasting is important, but hello, do you see who's here? Do you see who is in the midst of you? After 1,000 years of dreaming and longing, I can hear him saying, like, hello, here I am, the one that you've been waiting for. You know, they were so focused on habits and rituals and old teachings that they couldn't see what was right in front of them. And honestly, the absence of the fasting of that moment was a witness to God being present to them in their midst. Now, I'm going to let you know, like, if there ever was a fasting competition, I'm pretty sure we know there are scriptures where Jesus, he fasted, and it was legit, and he was strong, and it mattered to him. And if there was a fasting competition, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he wins. But he's trying to get them to see the time is not now. Open your eyes. I'm right in front of you. Let's celebrate. You've been waiting. Here I am. You know, and I know it can be much deeper than that, but for me, that's the angle I wanted to take, because I think for us as everyday Christians, we miss the bigger picture so often. If you think back through your life, when we are going through things, we are often so blinded by maybe our hurt or our pain or our disappointment that we can't see the good God right in front of us, the way God is working, the good God is doing. You know, I think back to my recent career change. You know, I had been a teacher for 21 years, and the majority of my career, I taught kids how to love themselves some Jesus. That was my jam. And I had zero doubt that God called me to that. Well, when I moved back from North Carolina back to my home in Pittsburgh, I was told that I would have to go back to get my master's in theology in order to keep teaching religion. And, you know, at that point I was 47. I was like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to go back to school. And I remember just going to God in prayer and thinking, like, all I know how to do is be Mrs. G. I don't know how to be anything else. Like, you didn't give me any other gifts and talents, God. Like, I know without a doubt you put me on this earth to minister, to teach others about you. And I've been doing that for 21 years. Now what? And I prayed, and, you know, the only option was for me to go back to school. And it just wasn't an option for me to do that. It wasn't a decision that myself and my husband felt was right at the time. When I look back now, fast forward, I'm 50. The goodness of God, the way he was working, it was kind of like he said, listen, I have this new calling for you, but unless I do something drastic, you're not going to find it. You're not going to see it. You're not going to change from your old ways to this new way that I know I'm calling you towards unless I do something. And in a moment of me feeling completely stripped away of all that I had known, 21 years as a teacher, he showed me he had something greater planned. And now I'm in an industry, a health and wellness industry, where I get to use my struggles as someone who struggled with body dysmorphia and eating disorders and disordered eating and self-image issues. I get to be a part of an industry where so many women and even men come to me only seeking weight loss, and I get to help them heal in a way that has nothing to do with weight. And in the process of that, I can love them like Jesus. I can show them that they are worthy, not because of a number on the scale, but because of the God that created them. So I share that story because there was such a bigger picture, but I was so tunnel visioned. I was like, this is all I've known. This is what I do. This is where I have to stay. And Jesus knows different, especially when he's telling this parable. There was something new coming, and he was trying to open their eyes to it. So the second part of this, he goes on to say further, more of a description of them. He's painting a picture, a second part of the picture, and he says, neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins. So, like I was just saying, he's trying to get everybody to understand the bigger picture is something new is here. I almost can hear him saying to the people, like, why would we fast when you look around and you see people are starving for forgiveness? They're starving for grace and mercy. They're starving for love and acceptance. I can hear him saying, like, how is fasting going to help that? I picture him kind of saying, like, listen, I didn't come to be a patch for people. I'm not a patch. I'm a new garment. I'm not here to just fix a rip with a patch. I'm here to provide a brand new garment. And he had to use an image of something they would understand for the aha light bulb moment to go off. He was trying to get them to see, hello, I am the new garment. I am the new way. And, I think any of us who have had that encounter with God, when we've allowed our hearts to open up to God, when we allow God to take residence in our heart, when we have that encounter, a new you is formed. I remember last week I was telling you when I went on my tech retreat, I came home and my mom was like, I don't know who you are. It was because he made me new. The old Kim was gone. When the light bulb went off for me, when my heart was set afire, when I found out what life with him is like, the old Kim was no longer. And I think this is so relatable in our own lives, but it's definitely a tug of war, I think, because the new you that you become can also be a little scary. It's like, I picture sometimes when we get a new outfit and we're like, oh, we feel so good in this outfit and we're so excited, but we're also like, okay, what are people going to think? Are they going to like this outfit? I'm really not sure. I think I look really good in this outfit. What if they don't think I look good? We have this little struggle, this tug of war. And so a lot of times we take off that outfit and we put it back in the closet and we're like, I don't know if I'm ready for that new outfit yet. And a lot of times when we have these encounters with God and our heart gets set on fire, sometimes we're too afraid to become that new person, and we kind of put ourselves back in the closet, and we don't fully become the new creation that he wants us to become out of fear of what that means. Yes, when we become a new creation in Christ, we got to let go of some of the old habits, the old feelings, the old rituals. Let's stop for a minute and think, ask yourself, what are those things I'm holding on to? What are those things I'm afraid to let go of? That favorite sweatshirt you just don't want to let go. Those favorite pair of jeans, they're like the perfect fit. They're so out of style now, but oh my goodness, I love them. I don't want to let them go. What about the grudges that we hold, the bitterness, the resentment, the prejudice? What are those things that if we are going to become a new creation, we got to let go of? What are those things that we are so afraid to let go of, that we're holding so tightly onto? It's not easy. I don't think when Jesus was telling these parables that he thought that this was going to be easy for anyone. But I have no doubt that he knew it was going to be worth it. And as I, talk to you today, I can say the same. I don't know where you are in your faith journey, but he's here. He's present. And so keep your eyes open. There's a bigger picture going on in your life right now. You may not see it, but a simple prayer of, Lord, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why this is going on, but help me to see you in it. Help me to see the bigger picture. And I don't know if you've had that encounter and you're just tug of war and you're holding on to the old you because you're just so afraid to be that new you. Let the new you that he has created shine brightly. It's not going to be easy, but I promise you it will be worth it. The life that I live now, yes, there are things I do differently. There are things that, I remember one time somebody said to me, I'm sort of, you make me feel uncomfortable when I'm around you. You make me feel bad for who I am. And that was when I was really starting to live out my faith. And I thought, gosh, I don't want that to be the case. I don't want to make people feel bad for the way in which I choose not to do certain things or choose to do other things, the way in which I follow Christ. But what I realized is when we are letting our light shine, it can make others feel uncomfortable sometimes. I wasn't saying or doing anything specifically to that person. It was just, I was making choices and decisions in my life that they weren't willing to make. And so it made them feel a certain way. And I think, that's one of the beautiful things about the encounter that we get to have with him. When he takes residence in your heart, you live differently. You see things differently. Even if you don't understand what the bigger picture is, you know that there's a bigger picture. And so you keep your eyes open for it. So as I close out today, I guess those are the two things that I say to you. Keep your eyes open. He is working. There is more going on than you think. And he's in your presence. Celebrate that. Look for that. Trust that. Believe that. And he wants to make you new. Invite him in. If you've had that encounter, show it. Live it. Be it. It's a beautiful thing when we can show up every day with a heart on fire for God. And that's my prayer for all of you. As you listen to these podcasts, that you just have a little bit more of a fire in your heart this week for God than you did last week. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm pretty sure next week I'm going to start having some guests on my podcast, some people that I think have awesome stories to share about God working in their life. So stay tuned for that. So grateful and thankful for all of you. And hey, if you haven't looked up my friend Bodie, Bodie, his song Gratitude dropped yesterday. It's a song that he recorded. It was the song that he sang on American Idol. And it is a Brandon Lake song, but he sings it. And let me tell you, if you want your heart set on fire, give it a listen. Go find it and listen. Bodie, Gratitude. You will love it. Until next time, guys, as I will always say, love them like Jesus.